I kind of lied today and told my panel that I wasn't going to really talk about stats, but then I thought Richard would really love it if I talked about the stats and where we are going to be in the market for 2026. But before we continue, just introduce yourself and what brokerage that you're at.
I'm Keith Kenny with Century 21 Optimum.
Richard Payne with eXp Realty.
And Jacqui Rostek Holder with LePage Atlantic.
So we have a great diverse for this panel, unlike all LePagers, and I didn't even plan. They didn't even realize it. So we were to look back at 2025. What do you think, or what month do you think was the biggest wake-up call for sellers?
Probably there was signs, probably May, June, but I would say August was when people went, oh, I'm not going to see 40 showings and 12 offers. And I'd say that August was the wide awake month for me.
Yeah, I'd say it was definitely that start of quarter three. And that's also when I started actually looking at price drops and going, ooh, wow, some of these are chunky. Like these aren't just 5 little teasers. These are like, no, let's go 20, 40, 60,000 drop. Oh, wow. So yeah, I'd say quarter three.
And how about yourself, Jacqui?
Last year, yeah, I'd say pretty well on pace. Like once they realized that everyone was like, well, maybe it's a late spring market.
Yeah.
Maybe it just hasn't started yet, and they realized it just wasn't coming. It got to July, and guess what? Spring is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say January for me was really slow, unlike any other Januaries that I would have seen. And then I was wondering like what's going to happen to our spring because it really started slow last year. So based on the sales that we've all seen so far this year, would you say, Richard, that the buyers that you are working with, are they behaving more cautiously or are they still full tilt?
They're behaving cautiously until they kind of get a little bit bitten. So I've had a couple of times where we've almost waited too long before putting an offer in, and then it goes conditional with somebody else. And then they're like, oh crap, I do actually have to make my mind up. And if I like it, I have to get my offer in. So there's been, I'd say, 4 or 5 occasions where they've almost waited a little bit too long to say, well, let's see if there's something else coming on that's just as good or better. And by the time they made that decision, house has gone conditional. Now, luckily twice, gone conditional and then comes back for sale. So I'm sure we'll touch on what's going on with those style of houses.
Lucky for you.
No, well,
lucky for the seller.
Looking for the buyer, not looking for the
exactly.
seller. So we've had that a couple of times as well. So we've caught a break on that. But it's definitely, you just still can't sit there and go, I'll just hang on a little bit longer. It's like, no, if you find it and it's priced well and it looks good and you like it, just get your offer in. Yeah.
Jacqui, with the average price points that are dropping right now, and we're upwards of $43,000, the average that's dropping around HRM, how are you coaching the sellers, who want to get that high price?
I think getting your list price accurate from the beginning is important as much as you can with the information that you have. We don't always have great data, so sometimes you do have to sort of make decisions based on the information you have. And the sellers also have to be realistic that if it doesn't happen, the signs are going to be there and they're going to be there in the first few weeks. And you need to sort of already be coaching even when you're doing the listing that if that is the case, what is the next step? So what is the motivation to move? Is it going to be, are we going to do a drop? Because a $10,000 drop means nothing, right? Like nobody's not buying a home over $10,000.
Yeah.
You almost have to be going to like a $20,000+ drop to even get a blip of notice. Even $20,000 sometimes isn't a huge differential. If you go from like $599 to $579, you're still in a $25,000 block. You haven't hit any new buyers in a search, right? So yeah, there's a lot of coaching I find going into the selling side of things right now because the market is not what it was.
So would you say that buyers are being coached?
Buyers, I find, see the writing on the wall now, and I'm having people being aggressively pessimistic. Oh, hey, Keith, I know it's been on for 42 days on the market at $549. Why don't we go out at $475? And I'm just going, well, we can certainly write that. I'll send you over the comparables and let you know what I think it's worth. But generally, if the person would take that price, they will probably go to $525 and then $499. So I'm finding buyers are getting excited and they're trying to see how vulnerable sellers will be because they're not used to seeing prices drop, and now they're getting a little bit, not greedy, but overzealous in how hopeful they'll get, a super deal on a home.
Yeah, no, I would say that's happening as well. And, there's a lot of deals that are falling. It could be somewhere around 40 to 100 a month, depending what's happening. How are you protecting your client from their deals from falling? Let's say on the buy side.
Yeah. On the buy side, so I mean, my background is in construction, so a lot of times things are dying either on financing or on inspection. So I like what you do. You have the pre-inspection report, so at least I can look at that and go in and say, these are the things that we're going to see if you do your own inspection. Generally, you should be pricing the house or putting your offer in with this in mind. So if your inspection says the deck needs to be replaced, I shouldn't read that inspection, do my own inspection, confirm it needs to be replaced, and then expect you to do an adjustment for a deck that I would have already been aware of. So a lot of times if there's not a pre-inspection, I'll guide buyers and tell them like, okay, this is what things I see from just my, quick glimpse. I'm not opening electrical panels or using an infrared camera. This is what I see that will come up on the inspection. We should reflect our price based on that and present that in the offer to the selling agent and say, I understand this may be a little bit lower than what your sellers would like to get, but this is why we've done it. And then of course, setting up with a good mortgage broker to make sure it's not just a pre-approval, like, how much do you make? Yeah, we'll give you $1 million. It's actually based on their finances, their income, their output, their debt, and knowing that, we're in a secure situation where the financing is not going to be an issue.
No, and that is so important because there's nothing worse than, tying I think the biggest stressor for a client is during that 10 days of conditional period, and especially if you don't know about the home inspection, but financing and let's just talk about some price changes that we're seeing. What is that telling you about? So we talked to Jacqui about the $43,000 average price point. And now with the price points, the changes that are happening, what is that telling you about the strategies that some agents are going in at? Is it the agent strategy, or is it the buyer, the seller themselves, or is it a mix? What do you think?
50-50. I think sometimes agents are almost, and let's go back to the COVID world when we were trying to price houses accurately, and the market, i.e. the buyers, were telling us we're not pricing it accurately because 50, 100, 200,000 over asking price. You clearly didn't accurately price the property, but we're basing our pricing on history. We're not looking forward and going, well, there's no houses for sale, there's a ton of people turning up, let's put 150 over what we think it should price. So because of that, that message feels like it's hanging on. It's not going away. People are still going, yeah, no, we can get that. And I think you've got two problems. You've got the sellers that are hearing all of this and expecting it, and then you've got the agents that are going, yeah, go on, I'm not doing that much business this year, I'll try and sell it for that. And then you're like, okay, well, are you going to sell it for that, or are you going to try? And I think now, more than ever, all of the people that are looking at agents and looking at sellers, you got to be more honest and be like, listen, I can tell you till the cows come home, you're going to get 900 for this. The market comparables and the message from my buyers who are in your price range, that's not what they're prepared to pay.
I agree with you 100%.
First time ever. Yes.
Yes. So Jacqui, having, off of what Richard's talking about, is it better to list, and we would have talked about this, people taking their homes off the market and coming back on. Is it better to list in a rising inventory market or ahead of it?
So this I guess becomes a little bit of a personal question to the sellers too, right? Like where's the motivation? Because if you're in a rising, that means you might get more in the spring if you're in a rising market, but you're also going to pay more if you're buying something else. So look a little bit at those things too. But you also have to remember, if there's rising inventory, competition is rising, buyers are going to be more selective. They're going to want more out of a home, and they're going to want to do less. Because if I go and I show a home, a couple 15 homes, and 6 of the 7 of the homes require a fair amount of work, they're just going to write those off right off the bat. They won't even really consider them, even if everything else was good, neighborhood and style and size and all of that. They'll be like, oh, but they needed to be painted. They need new furnaces, windows, roofs, whatever. So, yeah, I think it really is situational based on what the buyer or the seller needs, depending on what their move is.
Yeah. And tying in with that, we had a conversation about, creating a frenzy in the market for a listing that you may have. Is that something that, I know that you did it a few times at the beginning of the year. Is that something that you're continuing to do?
No.
So tell me why you changed.
What if we don't get the activity? The only thing I can control is my starting price. And once I start adjusting it, people will find that either we're vulnerable or, we're completely unreasonable. So I tell people we can go on the lower end of what we think it's worth, but don't try to do the whole $450,000 house priced at $399, because what if I just get that one full asking price offer? And then I'm thinking, well, I wanted $450. What do I do then? And then I increase the price, and I'm getting calls and text messages from people that say I'm crazy. So I think it's better to not chase that dream of getting 12 offers, because it's not guaranteed now. COVID, it was.
Yep.
You knew no matter what you price your house, you were going to get multiple offers. You could just throw a price at the wall. But now,
you find the multiple offers, sorry, I'm not trying to take over the questions, but the multiple offers can be unpredictable. You can get 6 offers and maybe a couple of them aren't even at asking, which is very different than before. We almost never had.
I had multiple offers under asking price, and that's
I've seen that.
unexpected.
2016 vibes.
I've had that as well, and I'm just like, no, we're not going to take anything. We're just going to go reject them all and stay on the market until I got to asking.
Yeah.
And that was my $499 listing, which is crazy. How would an agent in this market upcoming stay relevant when, as a listing agent, how do you stay relevant in this market?
You come to the Sandra Pike.
And ask her what she does.
That's why I'm here. I'm hoping that somebody will call me because of using your brand. Go ahead, Richard.
I think the biggest thing is it comes down to your marketing of the property, arguably the marketing of you, the agent, to make sure that you're getting as many eyeballs on either your social media feed, either on the advertising that you're doing for the property, through the MLS system. Like, you need eyeballs on that property. The more exposure you can get and you can demonstrate you've got in the past on properties, the more relevant you're going to be, because we are absolutely in a, 5-second scroll world. So if you're not doing something that's going to stop the scroll or attract the person to look at it on this little black device we all have in our hand, that's how you're going to stay relevant. Now, am I the oldest here? I think I'm old.
We'll just consider it.
Okay, I'll be the oldest. I'll take the oldest one. And that's the other thing, is there's the relevancy of the social media, the videos and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also finding you've got to be relevant to your peers. And the amount of conversations I've had with realtors that are like, oh my God, you phoned me? And I'm like, yeah, we do that. Like, this thing is not just a scrolling. I can actually call you on it. And I'm having more agents going, oh yeah, no, like, we'll talk to you because you talk to people and you phone me and you get shit done, as opposed to, oh, I just text you, hey, send you an offer. Oh, I'm sorry, what? Where? Why? What?
Who's this?
Phone up, ask a load of questions, get some good information, then send the offer with all the information that you've got. So help your buyers. So that's how you stay relevant, is you've got to mix new world with let's be old school here and let's actually call people.
Calling is so important because it does get the deal done.
Yeah.
So Jacqui, I am of the mindset and that the videos that agents are doing, so apart from the stats, because I like being the knowledge broker or knowledge realtor, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think, as a buyer, my buyers are looking at Realtor.ca. They're looking at Viewpoint. They're not looking, if I'm looking for a house, I'm not going to Instagram.
True.
And I will say too, of the, if we're gonna say the social media agents, the ones that are actually successful outside of just doing a lot of social media they work hard. In my experience, there's a couple of them that come to mind where not only do they make multiple videos a day, good on them, that's their strategy, but they're working hard for the ones that are actually, and I'm saying successful as in they're selling houses. We're representing buyers. They're getting transactions done. That to me in this business is the success.
What type of videos are they?
All depending on the agent. Like the couple that I have in my mind, like they do everything from information based to advertising. Now I don't think it's those videos that get them necessarily. That gets them their exposure, and that's what I think has helped. But those people too, I know, are the ones that are also, they're the ones that are running out with any buyer of any lead that they had, like when they were really trying to hustle to get the work done. So that, yes, they are doing a lot of the social media, but they had things to back it. And I can also think of examples of people that put out a ton of videos that don't have the success. They're not doing the transactions. And they're also, to my knowledge, not doing the other side of it too. I don't think the videos and that is just enough. I don't think the exposure of just yourself is necessarily enough to actually get the deals.
I don't think, like if I do an intro video to this great house, I am not adding any exposure to my house. It's myself. Like, and I joke with people. I'm like, I could post all kinds of selfies of me and look, I'm having bubbly water with Sandra. Like this, it's going to put me top of mind in people's minds. So when they're looking for a realtor, I want them to think of my name. But that is not selling my clients' houses.
I couldn't agree more. Exactly.
They're just like, I looked at the house and I saw you do the intro video, and even though I clicked on it on Realtor.ca, I thought, I want to see that house more now because of that guy.
Yeah. And I think some of that is, we live in Nova Scotia. We do our business in Nova Scotia. We're not living and doing our business in Toronto and New York and LA and Miami. So I think you also have to do your marketing and do how you want to present yourself as a realtor to your market. And I think a lot of people are looking at selling Sunset in LA or whatever those things are, and they're going, well, I want to be like that. Great, go and move to LA and do it then. You'll probably have better success than you will here.
They're looking at the attractive person, probably not the property. It's just that is intriguing, and nobody's watching me for 8 minutes.
Doing these videos on the expensive houses, the people that are going to follow you just want to look at expensive houses.
That's it.
They're not actually likely to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to contact Jacqui. Jacqui, that house you stood outside for 1.2 million, can I buy it, please? It's like, no, I just want to doom scroll and look at fancy houses.
Look at the clicks on the $4 or $5 million properties that come up. There's a ton.
Yeah.
And it's like 4,000 people look at, probably only 2 of them can actually afford it.
Yeah.
But it's just, people are intrigued. And that's...
Yeah.
So if you had to tell a seller one characteristic to look for in an agent, what would it be? In a seller to look in an agent, what would it be?
I would say it's experience. Experience in any obstruction or issue can come up because it will always be different. And I tell people it's very rarely that I have a problem with the transaction that I have not come across before. I have a person for everything. I know general idea of what it's going to cost to get repaired. And then I coach a lot of agents. So I'm assisting sometimes the other agent, if they're newer, on how to navigate it with their clients to say, here's the person you want to call about the radon information when this is, you're not going to, die of cancer in 3 days because the radon level is 150 becquerels per meter cube, and the World Health Organization said the limit is 100. So by educating people and then giving them third-party individuals to call, that person is prepared to inform their clients. And my job is to keep the deal together for my sellers. So the more I can help because we all start somewhere, the more I can assist the other agent in navigating their client's perspective, the higher probability that we're going to keep this deal together than if I don't know anything about it and I say, oh, that is really high. Oh yeah, no, my clients don't want to do this. Either I'm going to get my clients spending money they don't necessarily need to do, or these folks are going to terminate the deal because they're afraid that mold in the attic is going to have issues with their childhoods, their kids' respiratory challenges when it's a totally different building envelope. So experience and knowledge is the most important thing when you're picking a realtor.
Richard, what would you tell a seller to look for in their listing agent?
I would ask them a lot about their realism in terms of their pricing and their ability for marketing. I think those are the two things, because right now, there isn't a ton of listings out there. Yes, we've got growing inventory, more houses getting listed, but it's not as if you go, yeah, I'll take every listing under the sun because it's going to sell COVID years in 2 or 3 days. Because now the time it takes for a property to sell, and therefore the amount of time you as a listing realtor should be investing with those sellers to keep them on the right path, to keep them sensible, to not get them doing any kind of knee-jerk reactions, to actually get them towards somebody's going to send you an offer. It might not be the offer you want, but it's an offer. So let's start, let's negotiate. So I think you need someone who's going to be really upfront and straight with their marketing and their pricing. And then it's, I'll give you the next one. It's going to be communication, which is keep telling them what's going on. Even if it's, you phone them up and go, no showings, nothing really changing in the market, not a lot I can really tell you. I'd rather hear that than radio silence.
I'm aware that you're still here and we're all feeling the same.
Still working.
What is happening? What is
Still
happening?
trying.
Yeah, that's communication huge.
Jacqui, you're the reason my house is not selling.
I don't know if I've actually ever gotten that, to be very honest with you.
I've not sold a house before.
No, not quite. No, I think I actually do a lot of checking in with my sellers on, like we have a strategy going in. There's always a marketing strategy. We implement things. And then when we're doing the check-ins and I say, it's been, a couple weeks or whatever, and we haven't sold, but neither has anything else, or this other one has, and let's compare and contrast, right? But I also ask them, is there anything that you think I should be doing that I'm not? Because at this point, it's a bit of a waiting game. We don't have the line, especially depending on what at this point, your seller should be well aware of what their market is in their, whatever it is, area, style, what have you. So I always give them the opportunity. Very scary question in a way. But if you ask this enough, because then they'll be like, you're doing everything that you said, right? I haven't overpromised and underdelivered. I usually try and make sure that I'm exploring other avenues if at all possible. But I ask a lot if they, because I want to make sure that they also feel, it's not that I'm insecure. I'm very, I feel very confident in what I do. However, if there is something that, if they think that I'm missing something, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation, right? We've probably discussed it a bit anyway when we talked about marketing and things to do or not do, but give them the floor, because that way I'm sort of preempting it, which is probably why I haven't heard the question, truthfully, of you're the reason.
Well, it's a partnership, right? So I don't live in your house with you. Tell me why you like your house and what else do you want me? And then everybody has their cousin, their sister, their whatever. Like, do you know what your realtor should do? I want to know this because I want my client to know that I really want their house to sell as much as they do.
The one thing, haven't we all gotten this every once in a while? You get like, well, so-and-so thinks it should be listed higher.
Oh.
You're like, well, that's great. We've been on the market 3 weeks. We're not sold. Yeah, you know what? I don't think that's the thing we're missing.
I'll try that.
And it's funny, you hear sellers say, I'm not going to paint my house, or I'm not going to do this, or you know what? I'm willing to negotiate if an offer, when an offer comes in, but the offers aren't coming in. So what kind of conversation at that point are you having with your client?
Well, I know in the slow markets, probably 2014 to maybe 2018, before things really started going on fire, you could show 2 bungalows in Woodlawn that are almost exactly the same, except for one, no offense, was an older person with doilies and, a floral trim for, let's say, $349, and then one that's painted gray with all the Kia furniture is, $100 more. And people are like, I really like this one better. And I'm like, I could get you a lot of paint. Yeah. So people only see what's in front of them, and the average consumer doesn't actually want to do any work when they move into the house. They just want to move in and live there. So that difference, people are always going to overestimate what the cost is going to be. And you're attracting a different clientele. If you're getting somebody who's willing to go in and do all this work, they're probably going to try to resell that house and they want higher margins. So it's a different buyer. The more you can do, paint is always the cheapest improvement you can put on a house. Everybody has a painter. It's worth putting it in there because the initial entry, what people experience when they come in, you want them not to be overwhelmed with, I had to paint this whole place. I'm already having the feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this right away or my wife is going to be on me. I already don't want to get into the project, where when we come in, then we can look and say, we can move in here and then we'll pick away at a couple of things. I'd like to get a different cabinet in the bathroom. So I think doing it up front is going to increase the success and increase the price that you're going to get by more than it probably would cost to do those small little tweaks.
I think also, going on to what Keith's saying then, it's not only that, is buyers, everybody who's a buyer, not just buying real estate, buying cars, buying whatever you need, is I want it and I want it now. And for some people, I'm okay paying an extra 15, 20,000 because I just walk in and go, done. Don't have to do a damn thing. New construction. I've always likened new construction a little bit like a new car. You know that you're paying a premium for that car because it's got no miles on it, no kilometers, miles British, that's what I'm, anyway. And that's the thing. So people will be like, yeah, go on, I'll pay 50,000 more than the one that's 5 years old because I just walk in and go, nothing. Okay, I got to talk to a builder in a year's time about a nail pop. Oh, well, what do you do? You know, that's pretty easy.
You need curtains, Richard.
It depends where you live. Fall River, you don't need curtains. There's nobody out there.
There's only landscaping 20 feet back. You're gonna.
Yeah.
So Jacqui, for a twist, if you had to ask the panel something, have you been there like, why didn't she ask that question? What would have been today?
Oh, Sandra, how about your opinion on why sellers are being maybe a little more stubborn in this market?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One is assessments. I think the assessment value of several homes is not aligned with market value. And I believe that sellers feel that if my property is assessed at this because the government assessed it, therefore my house should be worth that or more. Yeah. So I think that is certainly a barrier that I would have faced this year. That would be one. I get frustrated when I see agents say, oh, it sold in 2 days and the market's hot. That frustrates that. So I understand why a seller would take that, well, the market's really good. And I believe that some sellers have a set price in their head because it's about them and what they need, and it's not reflective of the market value. Whereas, like I have someone right now, they want to move to Vancouver. Well, I need to get this out of my house because I need to move. I understand that, Mr. Seller. However, this is market value. And I can't, it's only what someone is willing to pay, not what you need for your retirement or for, a divorce or power of attorney, like whatever it could be. So sometimes it's the emotional gets involved in practicality, and those two, I believe, need to be separate. So I would find maybe those 3 or 4 reasons why.
I think the media exposure was always focusing on the extreme. So the 115,000 over asking price, and that's all people remember. Yeah. And now that things are slowing down, they still kind of have that excitement, that expectation. So you're trying to let them think logically and proving them the information. I always tell people, I'm not going to ask you what you want for your house. I'm going to tell you what I believe it's worth, and then we'll have a conversation about the gap and the reasoning I feel that's there. It has to be a partnership. If immediately I know what they want. Human nature is to try to substantiate, because you want to reward people and agree with them. But you can't do that in this kind of market. You need to be logical and credible because buyers have all the information in front of them.
Yeah. I think the other thing for sellers just to be aware of is we are going into the November, the December, the Januaries. Like, it's going to be slower. So you should naturally be talking to clients as well and saying, listen, let's talk days on market here. Like, this is not going to fly off the shelf unless it's an amazing house at a perfect price with nothing to do, and we've got those perfect 15 buyers all waiting for the property. This is not going to go in day 1 to day 2. So this is a long haul process. And I think hardest thing I'm dealing with a lot of my sellers is like, yeah, but how do I keep the house looking photographed for everybody who's going to come in? And I'm like, unfortunately, I did not say this is going to be an easy process. This is going to be a process. However, we need to keep it, and I think a lot of buyers will understand that, like, people are living in the house and therefore it's okay to have some level. But I'm like, okay, but I don't want any dishes in the sink, and I want things nice and clean, and I want the counter. Yeah. And it's like, set that level of expectation that this is not going to be easy. This is just going to be a process and you have to follow it.
Oh, I hate, when I had my house for sale, I hated it because I would call the agent like, hey, does your client have kids? Because I have no backyard. This is not a great yard for kids. So can you make sure? Oh yeah, no, we're good. And I said, because the kids, they all play out in the cul-de-sac. No, we're good. And then, you know, 2 little dogs, I work from home, so you got to clean. And plus being an agent with your house for sale is so much more vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Then I get the feedback, yeah, didn't like the yard. And
This is why I started doing iGUIDEs. If you look, I started doing iGUIDEs like back 2016, whenever they started to be a thing on every property. Why? I mean, and still some people won't look at them, but I'll put the floor plans out because what was the biggest feedback? Didn't like the layout.
Yeah.
How about I provide it to you and I let you just scroll on through at your leisure?
Yeah.
And then hopefully, if it doesn't work, you don't even buy.
yeah, how do you know? You know, when I was looking before we bought this one, like I'm zooming in and zooming out on that Matterport link. I'm looking at, nope. How are buyer agents not educating their clients to do that? Because I could have a list of 20, now I'm down to 3.
I ask my clients to do it. I legitimately say, hey guys, I feel like this house is smaller than you need because we've been in houses this size. And you've said, do the Matterport, look at the bedroom. It's 9 by 10. That's not very big. Go, and then, because we're busy people, I don't need to show you a house that you're gonna hate.
Yeah.
What is that gonna do?
Also, the more time you spend with your buyers, the more time looking at houses, you'll be like, yeah, you might think that's your house. I can tell you now, we spent some time together. This is not your house.
And it's not fair to the sellers either.
No.
Yeah,
They have to get ready. That's a
ready.
ton of work. And Sandra, bedroom's too small. The bedrooms were that size before you went in, Keith. And you're like, wrong
I
number.
provided you a
Be
floor
like-
plan with the dimensions.
Looks like I won't be on Sandra's show anymore.
No, but it's true.
It's true.
So what would be one question that you wish that we would have spoke about?
Gosh, I guess if you had to give advice to yourself the year you started real estate, what would you have done differently? Jacqui?
The year I started, I think the year I started was 2012. And that was a bit of an interesting time because the shipbuilding announcement had created a frenzy. And I got in right after that. So there was no frenzy. And in fact, every agent I spoke to kept on going, the market's terrible. The market's awful. We have never seen it like this. It was just like inventory was growing. It's like things were not selling, things were sitting. Like it was like and I think, you know, looking at like there will always be homes to buy and sell no matter what the market is. So you just have to focus on that. The fact that like when you're looking with buyers, you have to look at what's the situation there and don't pay attention to a lot of the noise around. Especially, you know, that there's people that have been in the industry a long time that do, you know, it doesn't matter, honestly. Like if you're starting in the industry and you're brand new, just focus on what you do. What do you bring? How do you bring value? How do you get more educated yourself? If you haven't been in 10 years, you can't just fake that. But how do you, what do you study? What do you learn? How do you bring value? I think that's the most important thing. And I think in the beginning too, just not listening, because I remember just being a little shell shocked. I would talk to people that, were big agents and they would just be talking about how the sky was falling. And I was just, as a brand new agent, going like, okay.
I don't want to hear this.
Might not renew my license.
What does this mean? No, I think I was, I don't even
Just
know.
lie.
I'm just like,
Please lie to
okay,
me.
well, this is all I know. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll make a go of it.
Yeah.
It worked out okay, but yeah.
That's a great question. What do you think? What would you have done differently?
I would have, if I could go back now and tell myself 14 years ago, I'd be like, get ready to work your ass off because this is a hard career path to take, and don't be so naive. Because I think I walked into it almost thinking, oh, this is going to be fairly straightforward. It's not going to be too difficult. And you walk into it and within like 2 weeks, you get hit with that brick wall. And you're like, oh, this is going to, you better work your ass off. So, you go from, I don't know, working 40, 50 hours, in a fairly good accounting position, still working hard and all the stuff you do to progress. But then going into this position, you're like, oh, this is like twice as hard. Like, you have to figure out what are you supposed to do every day. You have to find people that want to use your services to help buy, sell, and invest. You have to manage your business because there isn't always money coming in every minute of every day. And you have to manage the stuff that's going on. And I'm like, oh my Lord, if you'd have just known and been prepared for that size of a understanding of what this position is as a realtor, I would have been so much more prepared than just going, yeah, this pass the course, no problem, let's go. Like, it's a little tougher than that.
Oh yeah. How about yourself?
Well, I think I probably would have had more confidence in my abilities. I came from a sales background, And I think starting out, I really was a people pleaser. So I wouldn't tell people what their house was worth. I would more ask them, because maybe it was desperation, maybe it was lack of self-confidence, and I would never say no. Because, if you wanted me to show you that house in Stewiacke that I knew wasn't going to fit you, I was running out there. I was doing things that were busy, but they weren't necessarily paying off for me or my clients. And those were the things over time that I decided that I need to manage my time better, and it's okay to say no. Hey, listen, we're looking to move to Antigonish, probably in 2012. When I got in, I would have drove there. I couldn't name 3 streets in Antigonish. Why was I going to Antigonish? But I was there. And then they look at 3 houses and be like, eh. And then you talk to them 4 weeks later and they bought one at an open house. So I didn't respect myself and got taken advantage of because of it, I think.
Interesting. I don't know. I was very fortunate to have Wayne Cochran as my mentor when I first got in. And if he told me to jump, I said, how high, how long do I stay there? What do I do when I get there? I was really fortunate, and I wouldn't call it luck because there is no luck in real estate. It truly is hard work. But if I had to give advice to someone, especially an agent up to 3 years in the business, don't worry about a brand, because you don't have a brand until you probably have 100 deals underneath your belt. Pick up your phone. People need to have communication. I think that's so important because you got to get a deal done. And it doesn't matter what brokerage you're at. At the end of the day, you wake up every morning, you're unemployed. And it's the effort that you want to put into your career, into your clients, and it's that effort that's going to, effort and consistency, I believe, that will pay off in the end. So I was just lucky to have a good mentor.
It sounds like so I was 2012, you were 2012, you were 2011, based on the math?
2012.
I was 2010.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sandra's been
You mentor us. That extra 2 years. This is what you get, 2 years.
There you go. Well, anyway, thank you all so much. And we'll probably get together, maybe do another 2 panels in January, just to projections for the market based on, 23, 24, 25, where we're going to see ourselves in the next year. So have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. Unlike myself.